My name is Almudena Lara, and I'm here representing Google, and I'm here to talk to you about Google's approach to fighting child sexual abuse and exploitation. My background prior to joining Google, I joined 2.5 years ago, but all my prior experience is working in the charity sector or government in or about issues related to child safety. So I'm very pleased to be here representing Google because I strongly believe that tech companies have a very big role to play when it comes to protecting children. We all have a role to play, but putting it out there that tech companies have a big role in this space. So before I dive into the specifics of our approach to child sexual abuse and exploitation, I thought it would be good to talk a bit about what's Google's approach overall to content moderation. And that's based on 4 key principles: remove, reduce, raise, and reward. We call this the 4 R's because obviously all the words start with R's, but they provide a good framework for how we go about content. So when it comes to content that violates our policies or content that is illegal, we remove it. And that is firmly where child sexual abuse material and is. So when we see content that is exploitative sexually of children, we remove this. We also reduce content that is meant to spread harmful content or is borderline material. So when it comes to children, for example, this is content that, although might not meet the threshold of illegality, is sexualizing children in inappropriate ways. Raise means that we look for authoritative sources and we raise those, and reward, we work with trusted creators and reward them to generate and create high quality content. But as I say, when it comes to child sexual abuse and exploitation, we are firmly talking about remove for illegal content and reduce when it's borderline content. So you all probably know, I'm not going to dwell on this, but child sexual abuse is a global and sadly a growing problem, and it's multifaceted. So Google has been working in this space for many years, since Google launched the search engine and recognized that that tool that has a great potential for good also could be used by abusers for spreading illegal content. But in those 20+ years, the number of reports of child sexual abuse has continued to grow. So globally, there has been close to 50 million reports that have been made over the past 20 years, not only Google, but also other companies that operate in this space. And this is partly down to the rise in technology. So technology has facilitated the abuse at scale, but also luckily has facilitated the ability of tech companies to detect this content at scale. So when we talk about the rising volume of reports, I think one needs to recognize both that this is due to a rise in the criminality, but also a rise in our ability to detect this content at scale. And I will talk a bit later about the technologies that we deploy. But also we need to recognize that the children are accessing technology at an earlier age, and this creates also additional challenges for us. For example, children being more subject to abuse, grooming, and exploitation by adults, but also the role of technology that children are using for exploring their own sexuality and maybe self-generating some of this content. Although I'll also talk later about self-generated content, because that's a difficult concept when it comes to the fight against child sexual abuse and exploitation. So we like the principles. I talk about our 4 R's when it comes to content moderation. When it comes to our fight against CSAM, we tend to talk about our approach around these 4 principles, which are detect, report, deter, and collaborate. Those are the key planks of the work that we do when it comes to protecting our services from being exploited for child sexual abuse and exploitation, and our role in protecting children. So detect is where we put a lot of the work. So we do this by doing what Google does best. We develop technology that allow us to detect content at scale. And that is fundamentally two types of technologies that we apply. Hash matching technology, which allow us to detect content that has already been detected before, has been seen before, has been confirmed as CSAM, and has been hashed. Hash matching technology allows us to continue to detect that content and therefore to take it down. But if we were only ever looking for the content that has already been seen, we'll only be ever scratching the surface. As we know, content is constantly being developed and put out in circulation. So we see our role as well in trying to keep up with new content that comes into circulation. So for that, we have developed artificial intelligence, machine learning technology that allow us to detect content that is highly likely to contain child sexual abuse material. So the way this machine learning technology works is basically we teach the machine and we feed the machine content that is child sexual abuse material. So the machine learns what are the characteristics of child sexual abuse material. We also teach the machine what is not child sexual abuse material. So we teach the machine to be able to recognize between legal porn, for example, and child sexual abuse material, or innocent images of children and child sexual abuse material. And the machine actually doesn't tell us whether something is or is not child sexual abuse material, but it tells us whether it has close proximity to those images that we know and we have confirmed as child sexual abuse material. So then human reviewers will review that content to confirm or otherwise that content. The second principle is report. We are under obligation under US law to report to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And over the past 12 months, for example, just to give you a few figures, we have made around 1 million reports to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, containing around 6.7 million pieces of content. And we also, the concept of deter and prevent is also key in our approach. I think we will all, it'll be a losing battle if we are just in the business of detecting content and detecting criminality once that has taken place. We need to move upstream and make sure that that criminality doesn't occur in the first place. So when it comes to deterring offenders, what we try to do is we try to build our services and our products in ways that are not easy to abuse and not easy to be used for the production, storing, or the searching of this type of content. So for example, in search, we work hard to make sure that we are able to detect searches that are indicative of someone being looking for this type of content. And if that is the case, we endeavor to ensure that all our searches are clean. Obviously, we ensure that they don't link to child sexual abuse material, but also we try to prevent pornography to be shown when in response to to searches of child sexual abuse material, because we also want to make sure that we break that link between children and pornography, and that we don't put this in the mind of those that are searching for this content. And in this space, we work closely with hotlines and with the InHope network as well to help our work in this space. And collaborate is a key part as well of the work that we do. We know that much as Google has a huge potential and a huge responsibility, this is a crime that we will not be able to tackle by ourselves, and we need to collaborate with others. We are in strong collaboration with other tech companies through the Technology Coalition and sharing our technology in ways that actually support the wider ecosystem in the fight against CSAM. So moving on, this is only to show that the journey for Google has been long, and we have a lot of experience here to share, but I'm not going to walk you through all the milestones in this space. I want to maybe spend a few more minutes just talking about the technology and how it allows us to detect CSAM at scale. So the role of hash lists that have already identified key child sexual abuse material is key to ensuring that this type of material doesn't resurface again. And the important part about ensuring that it's not reshared and it doesn't resurface is that for victims and survivors of this crime, it is very important that this material is taken down. They feel re-victimized every time this content is shared and is viewed by perpetrators. So hash lists help us to do that. We also work with trusted partners to help us identify the key content, and we get users' feedback and notices. And that is the key, the bread and butter of the work that we do. The hash matching technology, we also have adapted the original photo DNA and the original hash matching technology focus mainly on static images, but through our technology in YouTube and our position as a leading video sharing platform, we've also been able to extend that technology and expand that technology to allow us to detect content that has already been seen in video format. And as I spoke a bit about the machine learning and how it has helped us to continue to detect new content. And this creates a positive feedback loop, because once we detect new content and that is confirmed, is hash matched and is fed back into our hash matching systems. And we contribute many hash matches to the sector as well to help others continue to detect this and to suppress this content. But I talked about technology, but at the bottom of this slide, we also have human reviewers represented there, because humans are key to this whole process. It comes from the design of the policies and the design of what constitutes child sexual abuse and not, to, at the other end, the review of decisions through the appeals process. And throughout the whole process, humans will be involved, whether it's confirming hashes or confirming the material that is surfaced by our machine learning classifiers. But if I can speak a bit about the policies and how we set the policies, just to give people a bit of a sense of the complexities that we face. So before I joined Google and I was in the charity sector, I thought how difficult it can be. Either it's child sexual abuse material or it's not child sexual abuse material, and it should be obvious to everybody. But when you really dive into the designing of policies to address this type of content, I think it's very important to also understand the wider complexities that we face. For example, how do we distinguish an image that has been taken of a child with intent of abusing and victimizing that child versus an innocent image of a child? So some of the work that I did for Google was also working with naturist organizations that actually feel that sometimes maybe the decisions that we might be taking penalize them for just celebrating the body and being willing to live in a way that actually shows more nudity than many are used to. So we try to really get into that level of understanding, or say when a parent takes an innocent image of a child in a bathtub, we are not in the business of trying to suppress those images. Those images are fine, but we want to be able to distinguish between that and images that actually sexualize children and images that abuse those children. The other area that it's difficult for us to establish as well is self-generated content. And here I think we need to understand that often, even if the material might have been generated by the child themselves, this is often in the context of grooming or exploitation, or even if it has been generated in what might have seemed like a supportive relationship, often that content will take a different life on itself and be distributed without the consent of the child and with the intent of harming the child. But at the same time, we don't want to be here in the business of penalizing children or criminalizing children for the production of this content. We want to make sure that they understand the risks and that we take action and take down that content. And the third point that I want to make in terms of the complexity is in determining the age of the child. So for something to constitute child sexual abuse material, it needs to show a child, an individual under the age of 18 in a sexual act or lascivious exhibition. But the first thing that we need to do is to determine if someone is under the age of 18. When we are talking about babies and toddlers, that's very easy. When we are talking about children past the pubescent period, it becomes much harder to being able to establish if someone is a child or an adult. So these are the complexities that we deal with. And to finish off, I'm just going to show you how I talked about collaboration being key to the work that Google does, and we collaborate by sharing our technology. So we have Content Safety API, which is our machine learning classifier that I described. We make that available to other organizations. And in the first half of 2021, that has helped partners that make use of this tool classify over 6 billion images. This wouldn't be all the 6 billion images containing child sexual abuse material, of course, but it's all the content that the classifier has gone through to establish whether the content might contain child sexual abuse material or not. And we also make available, sorry, I didn't move that, sorry, apologies. We also make available, so this is the Content Safety API. We also make available the CSAI Match, which is our video matching technology to help partners continue to detect known CSAM in video format. And on a monthly basis, that helps partners process over 250 million videos per month. I'm coming to the end, just to here show a few of the organizations that we partner with through our toolkit and with whom we share our technology. And just to give you a huge thank you for listening to me, and I hope it was of interest. Thanks.